You are the master of your fate. Let's begin. There is no such thing as permanent poverty, only the permanent repetition of poor decisions. Let's get something straight. You are not poor because of your background. You're not poor because life dealt you a bad hand. And you are certainly not poor because God forgot you. You're poor if you are, because you are practicing poverty. Now, before you turn away, listen to me. Poverty is not just a lack of money. It's a habit, a pattern, a mental rehearsal that plays out in daily choices until it becomes your way of life. You don't practice poverty by being broke. You practice it when you start thinking like someone who's supposed to stay that way. You practice it every time you say, I can't afford that. That's just for rich people. Money doesn't mean much to me. At least I'm surviving. You don't even hear it when it leaves your lips anymore, but your subconscious does. And the mind, your greatest asset, becomes a prison warden, guarding the very lack you say you don't want. Every successful man I ever studied had this in common. They were broke at times, but they were never poor in spirit. Carnegie lived in a one-room home. Edison burned through every dollar he had more than once. Ford failed, was laughed at, bankrupted, but not one of them practiced poverty. They practiced vision. They practiced belief. They practiced bold action backed by definite purpose. They didn't rehearse excuses. They rehearsed their future. Now let me ask you something. Are you rehearsing struggle? Are you practicing the art of just getting by? Do you surround yourself with people who reinforce limitation? Do you open your day with gratitude, or do you open it with complaint? You see, your attitude toward money reveals your relationship with possibility. And possibility is where wealth begins. You don't rise by accident. You rise by intention. Stop saying you're unlucky. Stop saying you were born for money. Stop calling your limits reality. Those are just habits of the mind, and they can be broken. So if you're tired of poverty, you've got to stop shaking its hand every morning. You've got to stop inviting it in with every word, every decision, every delay. And that starts with a new decision, to see poverty for what it is, a mindset, not a destiny. And if it's a mindset, that means you can trade it in for something better. Wealth is not reserved. It is earned through new thinking, new habits, and a new standard. You're not poor. You're just out of practice. So let's change that, starting today. The worst chains are not made of iron. They are made of comfort. Now let me tell you something most people will never admit. Poverty can be comfortable. Yes, you heard me right. There's a strange safety in struggle, a familiar rhythm in routine hardship, a quiet permission to not try too hard, to not risk too much, to not expect anything great because you've already accepted less. And once you've made peace with that mindset, anything greater feels like a threat. You've seen it yourself. Someone gets a raise and finds a way to spend it. Someone starts a business and quits when it gets tough. Someone dreams bigger, and their own circle mocks them back into silence. Why? Because poverty isn't just financial. It's psychological. It's emotional. It's social. Poverty whispers, don't aim too high. Don't stand out. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't outgrow your surroundings. And most people listen. They call it being realistic. They call it being humble. They call it keeping their feet on the ground. But that's not humility. That's habitual shrinking. That's the kind of thinking that makes a man trade his potential for predictability. I've said it before and I'll say it again. No man rises above his dominant thought patterns. If you keep making your life smaller just to stay safe, don't call it bad luck. Call it what it is, comfortable failure. And here's the truth. You don't need to be in pain to stay poor. You just need to stay still. You don't need to hate your life to avoid success. You just need to tolerate it. Comfort is the enemy of elevation. And poverty is clever. It disguises itself as enough. It shows up as low standards, small dreams, and quiet desperation. But it's still poverty. Now ask yourself, do you stay at that job because it's stable, or because you fear the leap? Do you ignore new opportunities because they're risky, or because you're used to small wins? Do you surround yourself with people who support your potential, or people who validate your limitations? Comfort feels like peace, but it's often just disguised stagnation. And every day you stay in that loop, the poverty you think you hate becomes the poverty you protect. So here's your wake-up call. If you're waiting to feel ready, if you're waiting until it's safe, if you're waiting for someone to come hand you a permission slip to rise, you'll wait forever. No one's coming to rescue you from comfort. It's your job to outgrow it, because comfort won't make you rich. Discomfort will. It's time to trade what's familiar for what's possible. You don't need a miracle. You need a mindset that makes no excuses and takes no orders from fear. Break the routine, break the small talk, break the inherited beliefs that told you poverty was normal. Because once you see it for what it is, you'll never mistake it for safety again. Temporary lack of money is not a problem. Believing you're not worthy of more, that's the real prison. Let me clear up something that's been misunderstood for decades. Being broke is not the same as being poor. Broke is a moment. Poor is a mindset. You can be broke and wealthy in spirit if your vision is bigger than your bank account. But you can also be sitting on millions and still be poor in belief, poor in gratitude, poor in ambition. You see, a broke man says, I don't have the money, but I will. A poor man says, I never have the money, and I probably never will. And that tiny shift in language, that's the whole game, because your words are commands to your subconscious, and your subconscious runs the show. So when you speak like you've already lost, your mind obliges. When you rehearse defeat, your spirit obeys. When you call yourself unlucky, unworthy, incapable, you shape a life that mirrors that script. But if you shift your mind, you shift everything. I remember interviewing men who had lost fortunes, businesses, reputations, everything, but they weren't defeated. They were just in between wins, because their wealth didn't live in their wallet, it lived in their mind. And I've seen others win the lottery and be bankrupt again in 18 months. Why? Because money is not the root. Mindset is. Until you believe differently, you'll handle money the same. You'll fear it. You'll avoid it. You'll waste it. You'll resent those who have it. That's the curse of the poverty mindset. Let me ask you something. Do you catch yourself saying, I can't afford it, more than you say, how can I create it? Do you feel guilt or shame when you think about money? Do you assume people with wealth must have cheated, lied, or inherited it? That's not financial wisdom. That's inherited poverty thinking. Some of you were raised in homes where money was feared, worshipped, or never talked about at all. But you are not your upbringing. You don't have to repeat your parents' patterns. You don't have to carry the financial wounds of a community that taught you survival, not prosperity. You can be the interruption. You can be the one who rewrites the script. But you must choose, not once every day. Because a poverty mindset doesn't go away when you hit six figures. It goes away when you change the language of your inner world. And when you do, money will stop being a ghost you chase and start being a tool you command. So start here. Stop saying you're broke. Stop calling yourself bad with money. Stop acting like wealth is for other people. Speak like a person with power. Think like someone with value. Walk like someone who is building something bigger than a paycheck. Because once you break up with the poverty in your mind, the money always follows. The world is full of people working hard for money. But money, my friend, moves toward vision, not sweat. I want to tell you something most broke people never hear. You're not attracting wealth because you haven't decided what to do with it. Money hates confusion. It avoids vagueness. It flows toward those who are precise. Ask 100 people what they do with $1 million, and most will shrug and say, I don't know, maybe buy a house, get out of debt, take a vacation. That's not a vision, that's a wish list. And the universe doesn't invest in indecision. Let me remind you of a principle that changed my life. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Without it, you're a wandering signal, transmitting nothing strong enough to attract anything real. When I sat across from the titans of industry, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, I noticed they all had one thing in common. They knew exactly what they wanted. They could describe it, measure it, and move toward it with surgical precision. They didn't say, I want more money. They said, I want to build 10 factories, each producing 1,000 units per day, employing 3,000 people by 1930. They didn't say, I want to be rich. They said, I want to create a system so efficient that it doubles output and halves cost, which will generate $1 million in revenue in the next 18 months. And guess what? Money showed up not because they begged for it, but because they gave it a purpose. So if you want wealth, here's what you need to do starting today. Define what wealth means for you. Is it freedom, a number in the bank, the ability to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you? Be honest, get specific, no fluff. Get granular with your goals. Don't just say, I want to save money. Say, I will save $500 per month and invest it in a diversified portfolio starting July 1st. Don't just say, I want a better job. Say, I will apply to 3 new companies per week that align with my skill set and income goals. Build a money plan with movement. Wealth doesn't come to people who wait. It comes to people who plan, act, adjust, and persist. Money respects momentum, not daydreams. Let me be blunt with you. If you don't know how you'd manage 100,000, you're not ready for 1 million. If you don't know how you'd earn 10,000 a month, you'll fumble when it finally arrives. And if you think having more money will suddenly make your life easier, you don't understand money. It magnifies who you already are. A man with clarity and direction becomes more powerful with money. A man with fear and chaos becomes more dangerous to himself and others. So the question is, are you building the version of yourself that money wants to work with? Here's your mental checklist. Memorize it, live it, repeat it daily. 1. I know what I want. 2. I've written it down. 3. I've built a plan. 4. I've removed distractions. 5. I take aligned action every day. If you can't say yes to each one of those, don't ask why money's not showing up. Ask why you're still waiting to get serious. Clarity isn't just a mindset, it's an invitation. And once you issue it, wealth knows where to find you. Poverty is not only a condition, it is a culture. And unless you break the culture, you will repeat the condition. Let me tell you what I've learned studying both the rich and the poor over decades of interviews, observations, and introspection. Wealth and poverty are not accidents. They are outcomes produced by patterns, reinforced by habits, and rooted in beliefs. I've seen brilliant men go broke because they never learned the difference between working hard and working smart. And I've seen simple men rise to wealth, not through genius, but through disciplined, conscious routines. So I ask you, are you living in the pattern of poverty or prosperity? Let's test it right now. Here are the most common patterns of practice poverty. See if any of them feel too familiar. 1. Living for weekends and dreading Mondays. When you build your life around escaping it, you are not building wealth, you are buying relief. 2. Spending before you earn. Swiping cards for dopamine, not purpose. Telling yourself, I deserve this, before you've even built anything worth sustaining. 3. Hoping without planning. You think money will show up someday. Maybe a raise, a winning ticket, a stroke of luck, but you never give it a blueprint. 4. Surviving, not scaling. You do just enough to get by. You've mastered stagnation. You've made stress a roommate instead of a motivator. Now compare it to the patterns of practice prosperity. What the wealthy do, not by accident, but by ritual. 1. They track their energy like they track their finances. If something drains them, they remove it. If something grows them, they build on it. 2. They build assets, not just income. They don't just make money, they make money work. They don't just save, they multiply. 3. They live by the calendar. They schedule their progress. Success is not an event. It's a compound effect of daily execution. 4. They say no more than yes. Poverty says yes to distractions, to instant pleasure, to fitting in. Prosperity says no to anything that delays the vision. Let me be absolutely clear. No one is born poor. They are born into environments with poor patterns. And those patterns can be unlearned, disrupted, and replaced. But here's the catch. You can't outwork a poverty mindset. You can't hustle your way out of a belief that says, I'll always struggle. You have to change your philosophy first. Your outer world is the mirror of your inner world. If you believe you're meant to survive, you'll do just that. If you believe you're meant to thrive, you'll begin to act like it. You'll begin to move like someone who has a future worth protecting. You'll spend less time explaining and more time executing. You'll stop calling struggle your personality and start calling wealth your birthright. And let me leave you with this. No one accidentally gets rich. No one stumbles into financial freedom. They build it day by day with decisions that stack into destiny. And the moment you stop practicing poverty and start practicing purpose is the moment your entire life pivots. So today, audit yourself. Are you acting like someone who wants wealth or someone practicing lack? Are your habits a ladder or an anchor? Is your environment built for growth or for excuses? Your patterns are either building your prison or paving your freedom. And every choice you make from here moves you closer to one. The man who rewrites his mornings rewrites his future. Let me be perfectly honest with you. Your old story is not holding you back. Your old routine is. Every person I've studied who broke free from financial struggle, from internal conflict, from mediocrity, they all made one key shift. They replaced default behavior with deliberate, daily action. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They didn't ask permission. They chose a new routine, one that matched the results they wanted, not the life they were escaping. Now I want to give you that kind of routine, not just inspiration, but implementation. This is the prosperity pattern, the daily ritual that dismantles poverty thinking and begins building wealth from the inside out. Morning, align before you act. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than you need to. You can't outrun poverty thinking if your mind is rushed and reactive. 5 minutes of silence. No phones, no feeds, just stillness. Let the clutter clear. 5 minutes of writing. Ask, what is the most important outcome today? Not 10 things, just one. 5 minutes of affirming. Speak out loud. Money flows where purpose grows. I create more than I consume. I act like someone whose time is valuable. You're not just waking your body, you're waking your belief. Midday, value your value. Ask this at noon without fail. What have I done today that moved the needle? If you're working a job, are you solving problems that matter or just staying busy? If you're building something, are you reaching people, creating value, or hiding and planning? Winners don't just check boxes, they create impact. And if the answer is nothing yet, good, now you know what to do. Evening, close the day like a builder. Before sleep, reflect intentionally. What money decisions did I make today? Did I buy energy or escape? What belief showed up strongest in my behavior? Write one lesson down. Small reflections prevent big mistakes. Then ask, what will I do tomorrow to grow my value? Not survive, grow. Because growth isn't random, it's ritual. Now listen to me closely. You're not poor because of your job. You're not stuck because of your past. You're still in the same place because you haven't become the person your future demands. But that changes today. The only thing separating a rich man from a poor man is what they do when no one's watching. No more accidental living. No more practicing poverty disguised as survival. Today you start a new story, one made of patterns that lead to power. You do it every morning, every evening. No drama, no excuses. Just small decisions with massive impact. And one day, not far from now, you'll look back on this moment and realize, that was the day I stopped surviving and started becoming. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you express first in thought, then in action, then in results. Let me say something that most people, especially those who feel trapped in poverty, need to hear loud and clear. You're not poor. You're powerful, but you've been trained to forget it. Wealth is not just about what's in your bank account. It's about what you believe you're worth and what you do with that belief every single day. If you wake up defeated, spending more than you earn, avoiding hard conversations, treating time like it's cheap, you are practicing poverty. But when you wake up and say, I will think clearly, I will move boldly, I will respect every hour like it's a gift, that is when wealth begins to move toward you. Because wealth is not something reserved for the lucky. It's something that reveals itself to the prepared. If you want money to trust you, prove you can handle it. Would you give 100,000 to someone who mismanages 100? The universe, like life, works on trust. It observes how you treat what you already have before it offers more. So I ask you, how do you treat your free time? How do you manage your energy? How do you speak about opportunity? Do you whine about your job or show up like someone worthy of promotion? Do you scroll for hours or build something you can own? People wait for miracles, but wealth rewards momentum. What wealth really means, it's not about buying things. It's about options. It's about impact. It's about being able to say yes when others have to say no, and no when others are stuck saying yes. A wealthy person doesn't just ask, can I afford this? They ask, is this aligned with who I am becoming? Your habits must reflect your future, not your fears. Stop practicing poverty. Start practicing prosperity. Here are 5 simple shifts to begin right now. 1. Speak differently. Replace, I can't afford that, with, how can I earn what I need for that? 2. Spend with intention. Ask, does this buy value or comfort? 3. Learn relentlessly. A poor mind says, I know that. A rich mind asks, how can I apply that better? 4. Protect your circle. Surround yourself with people who are building, not blaming. 5. Track your progress. Every dollar, every hour, every idea, write it down. Stewardship creates momentum. Final thought, you do not get rich by waiting. You grow rich by walking, one wise decision at a time. So stop practicing the story of lack. Stop saying someday. Stop blaming the economy, your parents, your boss, your past. That is the voice of defeat. You are wealthier than you think, because you have something better than money. You have control. Control over your thoughts. Control over your focus. Control over your actions. And that, my friend, is the source of all wealth. So rise like someone who remembers, walk like someone with purpose, and think like someone who already owns their future. The world doesn't need another victim of poverty thinking. It needs one more leader who finally decided to stop surviving and start building. Remember, Your success begins the moment you decide to act.